Hey guys, welcome back. All right, so real quick, we're going to be covering InDesign here. Um, like I said in the Illustrator demo, it's a lot of the same stuff that we had in Illustrator. So I'm going to go to more presets here. You can go to create new as well, and it'll open up mostly the same stuff, or literally the same stuff. So when you're working in InDesign, you're typically going to be working in this print menu. You can do web and mobile and stuff, but Adobe actually has better tools for that. And a lot of better, other people have better tools for that. In this case, I'm going to go with, um, let's do something more realistic to what you might actually be doing in here. Is something like a 24 by 36 sheet of paper. Oh, there we go. Keep turning off my video. Set that up in inches, and there we go. Don't worry about bleed and slug for now. We're going to be getting a little bit into that when I put together kind of a demo of what I want to see in the project one. So I'm going for a 24 by 36 inch sheet of poster. Basically, I'm going to hit create, and once we load in here, again, you're looking at a lot of the same stuff that you had in Illustrator. As far as the move tools here, we've got, so V is the standard selection tool, A is going to be the direct selection tool. You've got the pen tool, but it works a little bit differently in here, and I'm not quite a fan of how it works. You do have some of the shape tools here, kind of, the important ones at least. And then you can do gradients. You're going to be default working with a empty fill and a black stroke. So a lot of those tools are going to be super similar to what we worked with in Illustrator. Not going to cover those again. What's important for InDesign is that this is where you'll actually lay out projects. And so one of the important things that you can do in Illustrator is you can set up these master pages here. And if you don't have this option here, you can go to Window, oops, missed that, Window and Pages right here and open this up. And what what InDesign does really well is it manages the data in a way, or the data for your project in a way where you can easily have a lot on screen. The stuff that you would typically use InDesign for is laying out multi-poster board projects. I've done a phone book with multiple phone book kind of things with it, print magazines. That's the kind of stuff that you would use InDesign for. Illustrator would like completely crash. I think usually around 7 or 8 pages it starts getting kind of weird. Doesn't hold data well, starts getting really slow. All right. So what you'd actually want to use InDesign for is those larger projects. Illustrator works great if you're working on a page or two, business card, front and back sort of stuff. Once you get beyond that, it starts slowing down. So anyway, what these masters are about is you can create masters that will represent sort of a default background for pages. So let me actually zoom this out. I'm going to turn myself off too. Oops, nope, it turns all that off. Well, guess I'm stuck here. All right, so this little plus button right here, hold on, there we go. All right, so this little plus button right here is going to add new pages to this project, and you can see I've got 6 pages right there pretty easily. Now, what these master pages do, you can see how these have a master applied, and you can see that little A right there. What I can do is double click on this A master, and this is going to be how I would set up different pages to have different backgrounds, but have them be tied into the project. So right here, I'm just going to put, doesn't matter what it is, I'm just going to throw some text in here. And I need my character panel so I can actually change what this text is. So let's take this text, I'm going to bump it up kind of ridiculous just so that we can see what's going on here. Probably could have just typed that. Alright, so this is on the left side A master and this is on the right side A master. So now when I go over back to my pages, you can see that that text block is up here on this one and it's down here on this one. What that's illustrating is when you're working with InDesign, these masters are templates that you can use to set up a background. Not every single page needs to have a unique kind of left and right master, and in fact you can get away from doing a side-to-side page layout like this. But I think it is important to know, oops, there we go, how to set this up because it is one of those critical things that's important to use in this program. Now, a lot of what you're going to be doing in InDesign is you're going to be dragging your rendered graphics in here. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of those graphics I used or uploaded for class the other day. So I've got another window over here. I'm dragging this file in. I can click here and it's going to drop it in its size. I can also click and drag and kind of scale it to the size I want. All right. Now, it looks like they may have changed the functionality. So it used to be these would come in with a weird border around them, and one of the difficulties, yeah, is actually scaling the image once you get it in. So if I'd clicked on this, let me get rid of that one. So if I'd clicked this one in a position, but I actually wanted it, say, larger or smaller, what I would have to do is double click on it until this brown border pops in, and then I could scale that down. Then I have to click away, and I can click on this, and then I can scale this other border in. And you can use those as a way to clip your artwork, so not every piece of artwork that you're putting in there necessarily needs to have its full face shown. So you can do things like you can clip it. Um, it is kind of annoying, and so that's why when you are placing them, anything that you're bringing into InDesign, I would recommend doing the drag and kind of place it to size so that you don't have to go through that two-step process of kind of shrinking something down and then shrinking down its border. All right. Um, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, let me bring up this window again. So under Window Type and Tools, there's a paragraph option. This is also very similar to the one that we had in um, Illustrator, but um, I wanted to kind of go through the tools in here because it's more important to kind of understand how it works specifically in InDesign rather than going all out in Illustrator. So I'm going to start a new text box here, and remember, same thing as before. Click and drag to do an area, and then let me grab some lorem ipsum. All right, so I've got some lorem ipsum text. It's just filler text that you can use. And again, remember, these same text controls apply in Photoshop and Illustrator, but I think it's more likely that you're going to end up using them here. All right. So when you're working with text, obviously you've got sort of the left justification, center justification, and right justification. The other thing you have here is these justify all the way across, so that instead of, if I toggle between these two, you can see that there's a, let me shrink this down right there. All right, so you can see that there's these little gaps here. Some people don't like that. So you can get rid of that by having it slightly adjust the width of the text in various spots to get that nice alignment there so that you have a full width filled up evenly. Another thing that, and then of course you can do that center and right as well. And then there's the full width. This one does get kind of weird at times. They might have gotten better about it. Um, yeah, they've gotten way better about that. Don't worry about it then. Okay. Another thing is you can see that there's a whole bunch of these little dashes because it's hyphenating for a line break. So in this same paragraph toolbox, again, in InDesign, in Illustrator, in Photoshop, you can uncheck that and it will get rid of those so that you don't have hyphenated line breaks at the end of your sentences, or sorry, at the end of your lines. Now there's some other tools in here too that I find I use quite a bit. So the first one is going to be kind of the break between the start of a paragraph, and if you bump this up, you can see the top paragraph here stays where it is, but this break between it and the secondary paragraphs are going to shrink, or sorry, are going to get larger. This other one here is going to do after, and it's kind of one of those. The difference between these two varies, or doesn't matter too much until you get into very specific situations. Um, Generally, you don't need to worry about it. This one's going to change just sort of the gap overall in between paragraphs. So again, these three kind of do the same thing, slightly different ways, and there's some weird edge cases where you'd want to use the before or after. Um, this one right here is actually going to change the first character, so if you want to boost up that first character size, without doing crazy stuff to your text. It's super handy to do that. Um, and then this is the number of characters past there. So this one is something that you would more likely apply. Let's say this paragraph, I would only, if I just wanted to highlight, say, the first couple letters, I would just take this to 5, and then this one to whatever that is, 7. So you can go through and kind of do these weird little text modifications here. Let's see. I'm looking for... Oh, they moved it. Let's see. Let me go find the menu I'm looking for. It moved. Okay, found it. So it's going to be text wrap. You're going to find that. Again, if you don't have it in your opening bar here, you can go to Window, text wrap, open that up. And so one of the things that you can do in here is actually place something over your text. If you'll remember in Illustrator, you could actually draw a shape to place text around. Um, and in here, what you can do is you can tell it to have text go around the shape of your text, or have text go around the shape of an object in here. And this works with all kinds of things. You can have it, again, by default overlap. You can have it space out. You can set it so that it follows the actual shape. So this one by default was a square, but if I had a more, say, circular object, which I could throw in here, it would follow the circular shape of that versus the rectangular shape of that. You can clear out entire lines, and you can have it kind of clear below, which is kind of handy. It's nice when you just kind of want to have something finished like that. Okay, oh, one of the other options in there before we just move on is, come on, there we go. Okay, so you can, along with that, you can also adjust these options for how far that offset is. This comes in super handy when you have an image here, but you don't necessarily want your text flat up against it. Let me change this so it isn't doing that font thing. And let's go back here and change it to that. So now I can have it kind of leave that gap around whatever my object is. I think that's a little bit handier. That was probably too big of a gap, but you get the idea of what I'm looking at here. All right, so once you're working in InDesign, again, you have a lot of the same options. This I would use almost strictly for layout. So when you're working in Illustrator, there are certain things you might want to put together there. But when you get into InDesign, you're just dragging and dropping your artwork in here and you're not messing around with it too much, all right? Let's see, there was one other thing I wanted to go over. Let me look up, let me get my notes. I will be right back. Okay, I got it. So, something my students always run into. Everyone's going to forget this about 3/4 of the way through the semester. You'll be working on your final. And what's going to happen is you're going to go, hey, or either the first time you're working in Illustrator, you'll notice that, like, say, your graphics look awful. So this is this image, and there's this option called Overprint Preview. And what it's going to do is it's going to clean everything up. See how that got much nicer there? But all of a sudden now my computer's moving a lot slower. Even my computer is. So when the Overprint Preview is set to off, like it is right now, it's going to kind of lower the graphic quality of everything that's in there. So let me throw in, we'll get some more of these in here. We'll get this one nice and big. We'll get this one, oops. We'll get that nice and big. And you can see again that these are kind of pixelated quite a bit. And so what InDesign is doing is it's dropping down the quality that it's holding your images at. But when you go and turn on this overprint preview, it's going to show you what, oh, that one's still pixelated, I guess. But it's going to show you what your artwork would look like when you go to print. So before you print anything in here, make sure you turn this on, check everything out, make sure it looks good there, because that's what your document is actually going to look like. And then the opposite of that is I often get students going, everything looks bad. Why does everything look bad? I've loaded this image back in 3 or 4 times and it still looks bad. And chances are it's because you took a great big image, you dropped it in here, and then InDesign took it, shrunk the quality way down, and that's your image. So don't forget overprint preview. Always check that. Keep an eye on it. All right. So that's all we really need to go over for this. Again, focus on milestone 2, and I will be there if you have any questions in class tomorrow. And otherwise, you can get a head start on project 1. All right. See you guys there.